सूरज मंगल सोम भृगु सुत, सूरज मंगल सोम भृगु सुत, बुध और गुरु वरदायक तेरो, राहु केतु की नहीं गम्यता, राहु केतु की नहीं गम्यता, शंग शनि पर हो तुम चेरो, जानकी नाथ सहाय करे जब कौन बिगाड़ करे, नर तेरो जानकी नाथ सहाय। दुष्ट दुशासन विमल द्रौपदी, दुष्ट दुशासन विमल द्रौपदी, चीर उतार कुमतर प्रेरो, ताकि सहाय करे करुणानिधि, ताकि सहाय करे करुणानिधि, बढ़ गया चीर भार नेरो, जानकी नाथ सहाय करे जब कौन बिगाड़ करे, नर तेरो जानकी नाथ सहाय करे जब कौन बिगाड़ करे, नर तेरो जानकी नाथ। जाकी सहाय करी करुणानिधि, जाकी सहाय कर करुणानिधि, ताके जगत में भाग बढ़ेरो, रघुवंशी सतन सुखदाई, रघुवंशी सतन सुखदाई, तुलसीदास चरण को चेरो, जानकी नाथ सहाय करे जब कौन बिगाड़ करे, नर तेरो जानकी नाथ सहाय करे जब कौन बिगाड़ करे, नर तेरो जानकी नाथ। श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम, श्री 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 राम जय जय राम, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Om Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare.
Welcome to Satsang. So beautiful to be together with everyone. It's only been, I guess, 5-6 days since we were together before, but this is one of my favorite parts of the day, and being away from Mother Ganga is hard enough, and when along with missing Mother Ganga, I miss sitting together with all of you. So it's so beautiful to be back together again. For those of you who were not here 5-6 days ago when I left for Saudi Arabia, welcome. It's wonderful to have you. And in our evening satsang, we have a bit of a flow, subject, of course, to anything that changes in that day. But the flow typically is that we begin with one of the questions that comes in online. We have a beautiful family that joins satsang from all over the world through this wonderful gift of technology, one of the benefits of technology. And they send in questions. And we take one of those questions to begin. And then we open it up to any question that anyone here has. There's a microphone in the center of the room, so don't be shy. After we take the first one in advance, please feel free to come to the mic, share your name, share where you're from, and share your question. It's a time together where we dive deeply into the very truth of who we are. Okay, this is a bit long, so pay attention. As a daughter, I feel a deep sense of transgenerational trauma carried through my maternal lineage, from my grandmother to my mother. I experience pain, fear, and sadness that feel larger than my own life experiences, as though I am also holding their unresolved suffering. How can one understand and heal inherited trauma from a spiritual perspective without becoming overwhelmed by it? Great. So, there's so many angles to go into this with, but let's start with science. We'll come to spirituality, obviously, But I want to start with science because I love the places where science and spirituality overlap. There's a field of science called epigenetics, which, as far as science goes, it's a relatively new field, meaning a few decades. And epigenetics, I won't go into all the details, but it's the science that basically is about our surroundings. So from a cellular level, the surrounding of the cell, meaning the bloodstream. From a level of our life, our surroundings, our environments, and the way that that impacts us. So it's in direct opposition to the idea of like genes determine everything. Science of epigenetics says, well, yes, we have genes, but a lot of times the genes are not expressed. And what determines if the genes are going to be expressed is the environment, the bloodstream, that the cell sits in. Okay, so I begin with epigenetics because epigenetics, really interestingly, actually has a body of research around inherited trauma. And the idea that actually in our cellular structure, we can pass down, not just spiritually, but actually through the environment of our cells, through our genetic makeup, through how our bodies and biologies function. And I am far from an expert in epigenetics, but I'll give it to you as best as I understand. But there is a lot of evidence showing that actually we carry in our very cells trauma of past generations. And that this dictates a lot of what we in the dharmic spiritual world would call sanskaras, when we wonder where our sanskaras come from. Well, a lot of sanskaras come from our family, how we were raised, our education. And for those of you who don't know, sanskaras are impressions upon our psyche. So they're translated sometimes kind of superficially as values or morals. They'll say, oh, wo to bahut sanskari hai, meaning, oh, she's a good girl. But sanskars are actually a lot deeper than just values, morals, principles, ethics. It actually is our default mechanism for how we think, how we act, where there are energetic impressions in our psyche. That's the habit. And in the world of neurology, we talk about it as neuronal networks, neuronal patterns, etc. Okay, so what we know is that yes, it's not a crazy question. Yes, we actually can inherit in our cellular structure that impacts our sanskaras, separate from our environment, separate from our parents. It actually impacts us. And what's interesting is, if you think about the puja that we do, in the Hindu tradition, the Shraddha Puja, Arpan, Tarpan, all of that which we do for our ancestors. Well, when our ancestors left their bodies and are as soul, some of them, of course, attained moksha, their subtle body dissolved, now they've just reunited with the divine. Some have already taken different births, they're in different karmic packages, but we're doing this puja for them. Every year in Shraddha, people come and perform pujas for ancestors who have passed away years ago. They're already on brand new karmic journeys. If their soul is taking rebirth, it's already done it at least once, if not more. Why are we still doing puja? For someone whose soul has already now inhabited a new body, new karmic package, new story, or who's already merged into the divine? Some of that puja is actually for us. It's not just for them. Yeah, of course, there's still that soul level of impact, but there's a lot of that puja that actually has to do with us freeing ourselves karmically, energetically, of some of that trauma, those sanskaras, freeing ourselves with gratitude to them, with love, with honoring of our ancestors, and we free ourselves. Why do people come to the banks of Ganga to do the puja? Puja can be done anywhere, but why the banks of Ganga? To be free. To be free. We offer the balls, right, that they make of the dough into Ganga. Why? Yes, for the ancestor, but also for us. So all of this is kind of the foundation to the answer, to just reinforce that, yes, this is possible. The best way to be free of it is to acknowledge it, to see it, to notice it, to honor and bow to our ancestors who suffered and who may have left their bodies without healing their suffering, which is why it's still being passed down, because it hasn't been resolved. And to take up a bit of family responsibility and say, okay, now it's on my plate. I'll heal it. I'll heal it. I'll do that work. Okay. My ancestors, due to them, I am here. If there's some unfinished business, I'll do it. And we take it on, not as a burden, but as a beautiful opportunity, because, of course, if we're suffering, then that work frees us of our suffering anyway. But it's important to notice, because a lot of times when we are triggered by things, those of us who are introspective and contemplative, we try to figure out, like, why am I so triggered? Why did this bother me so much? Or why am I struggling with this thing so much? Doesn't seem to make sense. And a lot of times that sense can be made through something that has come down ancestrally. So we do the work with it, A, because it frees us, but B, because it's also a really beautiful aspect of holding up our part of a family lineage, kind of giving back to the tribe in some very, very interesting, cellular, energetic, spiritual way. So if this has been passed down from your grandmother to your mother, it's important to say, all right, no more. I honor you for your suffering. I feel compassion for you for your suffering. I will do whatever prayers, pujas I can do to help. If there is still suffering on a soul level, on a subtle body level, let me do puja to help you clear that. But as far as our family's trauma goes, I'll take that up. I'll do that work. And we pray to them on a soul level again, be with me. Be with me here. Give me strength. Give me your blessings, so that for all of us, I can clear this trauma. And it's a beautiful, beautiful opportunity and a beautiful piece of work to do. Yeah, great question. Other questions that anyone has? Yes, of course.
Hello. Thank you. Thank you for giving this opportunity to me.
Of course.
And I got 80% of answer from your thought that you had said right now. And I have one question, right? Like, I suffering something, a very strange thing right now, and I want to be the part of the suffering from the current situation, and I also want to leave the part of the from the suffering. So there is a jungling going on in my mind. So I stay with the suffering or not stay with the suffering. So this is the kind of decision
Is this, just to clarify, is this a relationship situation?
Yeah, it's a relationship situation currently going on, and a kind of juggling going on, and I'm not able to understand is perfect to stay with
Okay, great
or
question.
not.
Yeah, great question. And of course, this is something that comes up for so many of us in so many situations, is our relationships. The level of suffering that most of us have arises in our relationships. It's very rare that a random stranger can elicit the level of upset, anger, resentment as someone we have a relationship with can. And of course, the closer the relationship, the more they're able to make us suffer. Some random guy on the street says, "You're stupid, you're ugly, I hate you." And we understand that they're on drugs, or they're drunk, or they're mentally deranged. But someone we're in a relationship with says it, and it stings. It feels like a knife been pierced into our heart sometimes. And relationships are tricky. I always say relationship is a yoga. It's really a path of yoga. And as far as the suffering goes, here's what you have to see. It's become very easy these days, even in Indian society, although less in India than in the West. It's become very easy to basically just leave. This is no longer a comfortable situation. It no longer feels good. I'm going to leave. Children leaving their parents' houses, husbands, wives, even friends, unfriending, ghosting. There's so much going on where we're leaving behind situations that cause suffering. And the dilemma with that is that our inner strength is actually getting less and less. In Hindi, for those of you who don't speak Hindi, there's a term called San Shakti. And it means the ability to tolerate. The ability to tolerate a situation that, hey, isn't exactly how you'd like it to be. Like the person in front of you is not as polite or loving or patient or intelligent or deep or generous as you would like them to be. And we've gotten, so many of us in the world, into this place where I think technology plays some part. Those of us who grew up, I now consider myself like the older generation, where I actually grew up with a TV that had only 6 or 8 channels, and you had to turn a knob to go from one to another. Then we get remote controls, and now there's 200 channels on the TV. Cable comes in. We don't like this one, flip through to others. Oh, commercial, I'm bored, flip through. Now, of course, it's almost infinite between what we can get on Netflix and Amazon and YouTube, and literally it is almost an infinite number of possibilities. You don't like what's on? Something new. 3 seconds is the average attention span on anything. Not just because we're losing our attention span, but because we have stopped giving time to things. It's like, oh, you don't make me feel good right away? Forget it. And while I am all in favor of leaving situations that are actually harmful, last week I was guiding a young woman to absolutely get out of a relationship that was violent, that was abusive. Absolutely, not another chance, like get out. On the other hand, the ability to sit in a situation that is uncomfortable, that doesn't feel the way that I would like to feel, and to take responsibility for my feelings state, rather than dumping all of that responsibility on the person in front of me and what they're saying, how they're living, whether they're suffering or not. It's a really important life lesson. And so I don't know in your case what the exact specifics are. As a general rule of thumb, if there is abuse on any level, absolutely get out. But if what there is a degree of challenge that is pushing you to see beyond preferences, that is pushing you to kind of dismantle your ego structure of what you think you need from another person, how much understanding, how much support, how much agreement do you need? That is actually a powerful and important situation to be able to sit with, not necessarily forever, but for some time. I think these days a lot of us are jumping out of relationships, jobs, cities, so many life situations because we have just lost the ability to look within for the strength to adjust, to adapt. I remember when I first started traveling in America with Pujya Swamiji, almost 30 years ago now, in the magazines, in the seat pockets on airplanes, now everybody's got their own phones and much more like an entertainment-based society. But in those days, there were magazines with lots of articles, and you'd read the magazine on the airplane. And there were always a lot of advertisements. It was a big thing in those days for assertiveness training. Everybody was paying money to learn how to be assertive. And I'll never forget the first time he asked me, what is this assertiveness training? And I explained it to him. And, I was coming from a background of if you can't be assertive, you better take a course. You better learn how to be assertive, because otherwise, how else are you going to get your needs met? Life is about me, And he was quiet for a moment, and he said, it's so funny, because he said, what we really need is adaptiveness training, not assertiveness training. And again, of course, that doesn't mean be a doormat. It doesn't mean let people walk all over you. It doesn't mean be taken advantage of. But it means that the skill of adapting is a skill of strength, not weakness. The ability to have an internal resolve that can sit in discomfort is one of life's most important skills. So again, I don't know how long the suffering's been going on in your case. I don't know what type of suffering it is. But if it's not abuse, and it has not been going on for years and years and years and years without any change, I would say, see whether you can sit in the presence of it. We come from a spiritual sadhana meditation tradition of austerity, of tapas, of people purposely choosing the most uncomfortable situations and circumstances that their physical body can withstand without irreparable damage or death as a spiritual practice. Standing on one leg, fasting, awake all night, no blankets, no sweaters, no shawls, no socks, no nothing in the wintertime. I mean, all kinds of different types of tapas and austerities. Meditation high in the mountains, in the snow, in the cold, nothing. Why? Nothing wrong with a sweater. Nothing wrong with a big jacket. Why? As a training of the mind. Not only can I handle this, but the practice is actually beneficial, to learn to tolerate. Again, not life-threatening, not damaging, but just before that degree of damage and threat, discomfort on a physical level, an emotional level, is actually super important for us. And I think that as parents these days, we're not giving our children those opportunities. And so I think we're ending up with generations who don't have that skill. And then we don't give ourselves those opportunities. So some degree of suffering is really important for emotional development, for personality development, especially for spiritual development. Yeah, great question. Other questions? Yes.
Hari Om to you. My question is how to control your mind when metro city's life is too hectic. I pressurized last 40 days, never sleep 3 to 4 hours. That's why I come to here to control your mind and...
Wonderful, wonderful. So, our minds and our bodies are not separate. I won't go into the science and the neurology of it, but we all understand. If I say to you, close your eyes and think about a very, very, very scary thing, like the thing that you are most worried about in the world. What'll happen is immediately your stomach will contract. Now, I didn't say contract your stomach, but as we get afraid in our mind, a whole series of things happens in the body. And we know it actually works in reverse as well. Okay. This is why our rishis, our sages, yogis, the science of Ayurveda talks not only about the mind, but about the body. Working with the body is actually important to calming the mind. Sleep cycle, wake cycle, exercise cycle, eating cycle. All of these things impact the mind. If you are not sleeping well, if your physical body is moving too much, too fast, juggling too many things, you're not eating sattvic food. You're eating food that's spicy, you're eating food that's fried, you're eating food that's processed, full of sugar. It's going to impact your mind. It's one of the reasons I deeply believe that we have such a skyrocketing rate of ADD, ADHD, is our diets. It's impacting our brains. The more time you spend on your device, scrolling, watching WhatsApp videos, people send things, it's impacting our brains deeply, significantly. Then, of course, we can't sleep. And when we do sleep, what are we dreaming about? What we saw in WhatsApp videos, what we saw on YouTube, what we saw on Instagram. So our sleep is not actually deep and restful. So even if you were getting 8 hours instead of 3 or 4, it wouldn't be restful sleep. And when you only get 3 or 4 hours of sleep, it impacts our nervous system. We're secreting more and more cortisol, more and more hormones of stress. Of course, our minds are restless. So it all goes together. While you're here, however many days you have, develop a day. It's not just about controlling the mind, because if you don't control the body, the control of the mind is not going to last very long. Develop a daily schedule, a time plan. What time you're going to wake up? What are you going to do when you wake up? Just lay it all out. And it doesn't have to be outrageous. It doesn't have to be, that you're going to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning and you're only going to sleep a couple hours. You've been running on empty. Give yourself a good 7-8 hours to sleep. Give yourself a good amount of time to sleep and catch up. It'll actually make your mind more calm. Begin the day by going to the banks of Ganga. Offer gratitude, offer love. Sit for a few minutes on the banks of Ganga in meditation. If it's not too cold for you, have a Ganga snan at that hour. You can do it later. It's a bit cold and windy in the mornings, but if you've got the strength, do it in the morning. Otherwise, do it later in the day. But a daily schedule that should include some meditation, some pranayama. We have classes here. If you don't have a practice in that, come to the yoga class, come to the meditation class. Come to morning havan at 8:30. But develop a daily schedule. Eat your meals on time. Eat sattvic food. Luckily, you're in Rishikesh. Most of the food is sattvic, it's vegetarian, but you can still get, junk food and fried and stuff. Develop a daily schedule. You'll notice when you do that, the mind automatically starts calming down. Then, because that's not enough, it's just the important first step. Then, expand your meditation practice. Meditation is the key to learning to control the mind. I always say it is literally like taking your mind to the gym. If I said to you, tomorrow or today, I'm going to bench press 200 pounds, and I've never lifted a weight before, you would think it was some kind of magic trick, because you would understand that unless I was going to the gym a lot and had significantly larger pecs than I do, and you would look at me and you'd say, I don't think so. Because I don't have those kind of muscles. If I go to the gym every day and work the right muscles, eventually come back in 6-8 months, a year or two, I might be able to do it. But it's the same thing with the mind. It takes training. As I was saying in the arati, the nature of the mind is to be a monkey. And we now have a monkey on steroids. These devices have taken our monkey mind and literally injected it with steroids. That monkey now never sleeps, never stops. It literally just runs and runs and runs and runs. It's angry, it's afraid, so it's not just restless, but it has become also incredibly emotionally imbalanced. Meditation is that which is going to help you calm it down. It's going to train you to keep bringing the mind back, bringing it back, bringing it back. But if you get out of your meditation and you just start scrolling WhatsApp groups, it's going to be a lot more heavy lifting for your meditation practice. So try to make sure that you have a daily schedule and regimen and niyam that's in support of your meditation practice, rather than that just keeps ruining and undermining your meditation practice? Great question. Other questions? Yeah.
Namaste.
Namaste.
My name is Daksha, and we are from USA. The thing always questions that we have a Gurukul.
We have, I'm sorry?
We have a Gurukul, like here, the boys are
Yes,
here.
Gurukul.
And
Yes.
we have so many.
Yes.
We see it so many, in India also. In India, I mean.
Yes.
But how about, shouldn't we have something for the girls? Because girls are eventually going to be the backbone of the family, for the society, and eventually for the...
Yes, it's a great question. So we have been, and Pujya Swamiji has been, even since before I came 30 years ago, deeply, deeply, deeply committed to working for girls. The dilemma with the girls' orphanage, originally we had planned in the very beginning, we want to do this, we want to bring in girls we actually had planned not just a gurukul, but actually an orphanage for girls, bringing in the girls who had been abandoned, who had been harmed. And we ran a 2-week experiment right in the beginning, right after we opened the Gurukul, right around the same time. But wisely, we brought in girls, not off the street, but to test it, we brought in girls, fortunately, by God's grace, from an orphanage in Delhi, where if things didn't work out well, there was at least a good place they could go back to. And what we discovered is cute and innocent, but you'll understand why we had to stop the experiment. We ended up with love notes tied to rocks thrown in windows in the night between the little boys and the little girls. Now, love notes are cute, they're innocent, but as anybody we've all been either a little boy or a little girl, as anybody who remembers our own youth or has worked with youth knows, it doesn't take very long before something that's innocent and cute becomes something that's not innocent and cute. We also know, just from the field of psychology, that all children, but especially girls, who have been harmed in the past are much more susceptible, for a lot of reasons, to being harmed again. There is a vulnerability, a lack of self-confidence, a false sense of self that creates actually even more of a susceptibility to further bad situations. This ashram, from its inception, has been open to everyone. Means you'll notice that all of the rooms, the halls, even where the Rishikumars are, there's no halls that are locked down. Sure, individual rooms have locks, but we don't have like blocks of rooms where someone could just turn a key and lock 40 rooms. And what we realized was that as much as we wanted to bring them in, it wasn't responsible to bring them into this campus. And so we actually had a plan, and the plan was that we would, It's all right, it's a vegetarian. They're vegetarians, yes. So we learned to live very happily with everybody around here. But we realized that it wasn't responsible of us to bring them into a campus where we couldn't keep them protected, where it's open not only to people who are staying here, but with all of the temples, it's open to people off the streets. Anybody, as you must have seen, anybody can just wander in. Nobody's keeping track. There's nobody following people around. The temples are open to everyone. So we then developed a plan, and this is going back a long time. We developed a plan on another piece of land that we had, that we were going to put it there. For a variety of bureaucratic government issues, we were not permitted to do it there. So we then started looking for other land that we could build it on. There were a couple of pieces of government land that we spent years and years and years trying to get with the proposal of an orphanage for girls. Unfortunately, none of that worked. It is still a project that is very, very, very dear to our hearts. It's something that I know at some point will happen. But in the meantime, we are allowing ourselves to serve the girls through day schools. So it's not residential, but we do run a lot of free educational programs for girls. They're just not residential. So they come in the morning and they leave in the afternoon, or even for older girls who come in the afternoon or the evening for training programs, educational programs, that sort of thing. But the residential orphanage for them is definitely still a project that we are very much wanting to do. We need the right land to be able to do it on. It's the only piece. Everything else will fall into place. The people will be there, the finances will come in. I have no doubt about any of that. It just needs the land on which we are allowed to do that, and the land that we can have to do that. Yeah. Yes, of course. Any other questions? Yeah, we'll take this as our last question today.
Namaste.
Namaste.
My name is Pragya, and I have visited this ashram 2 years back. And at that time, you, in your discourse, you were discussing how you visited this ashram first time, and you had some experience. And but everyone is not having that experience. People are spiritually inclined, but they don't have those kind of experiences. And if I say like something personal, that I feel intentionally inclined towards spirituality since young age, but somehow I don't found guru, and there is I want, but in society you heard so many things about gurus, so there is a dilemma. So my question is, when guru appears and when to surrender?
Okay. So, first of all, it's very good that you are already spiritually inclined. You know what, stay here, then it's easier to see you. Kamba hai, though I can't see you behind the kamba. Thank you. It's very good that you're spiritually inclined already. The experiences that I had when I came were experiences that were necessary for me in my dharma, on my spiritual path. You have a different dharma. You're going to have different experiences. Not better, not worse, not more, not less, just different. Because we have different dharmas. We have different karmic packages. So just like it wouldn't make any sense to say, oh, I wish that I had her hair, or oh, I wish that I had, her waistline, or oh, I wish that I had her cheekbones. You can certainly appreciate somebody's hair or cheekbones, but it wouldn't make sense to, wish in that way, because we all have our own physical bodies that are part of our genetic makeup. And our responsibility, or opportunity rather, is to take our makeup, keep it as healthy as we can, as strong as we can, and use it as best as we can to fulfill our dharma. In the same way, the experiences we have are experiences and opportunities for us to use those experiences, rather than thinking, oh, I wish I had that person's experiences. See, how can you have the experiences that you need to have? And what it sounds to me like is that, as you say, you need a guru, but you're confused because of the family. There is nothing, by the way, that says you can't have a family and a guru at the same time. The vast majority of spiritual people are householders. So don't worry about that piece at all. Yes, you were going to say something. Uh-huh.
I'm not worried about.
What were you saying about the family, that you were trying to do the family and the guru?
My question is, right? Something, matlab,
This guru or that guru. But if you look at the sheer number of them, yesterday here at the ashram, our stage here was filled with amazing spiritual masters. If you look at the sheer number of them who are pure, who are there for the benefit of the disciples, the benefit of the world, it's so many more than these one or two scattered, scandalous stories that you hear, that it would be like saying, I'm never going to have an operation because I remember reading that newspaper story about that doctor who raped that patient on the operating table. You would still go for your operation. Not to the same doctor, of course. But you would still have the operation because we understand the vast, overwhelming majority of surgeons are surgeons to help people, not to take advantage. So, but what it also means is that we do need to use our intellect before you surrender. Use your power of intellect. Anybody who says to you, have blind faith, is not someone I would necessarily want to surrender to. Faith should never be blind. Faith should be open-eyed. No real master I've ever met has said, have blind faith. The masters want us to open our eyes. When you meet someone, when you feel drawn to a guru, use your intellect. By all means, absolutely, find out whatever you need to find out, do your internal checking, external checking, whatever you need to do, so that your mind is satisfied that, yes, this is the right one. And then surrender. Because it's much more likely, you're much more likely to be hurt in life by not surrendering than the chance that you're going to surrender to the wrong person. Is it possible? Of course. But if you look at life probabilities, the likelihood of suffering from living a life of not surrendering, of not having a guru, of not opening to that spiritual power is so much more likely to lead to suffering than the tiny, tiny chance that you're going to find that you surrendered to the wrong person. And the other thing is that no spiritual practice ever would say, leave your brain at the door, don't think, don't have common sense. We all have internal compasses, what Pujya Swamiji calls our internal GPS. And it's just as important on spiritual practice, spiritual paths, to keep that compass on. Allow yourself to continue to notice. You'll feel it. You'll feel it. You will feel it on the inside. We're intelligent, energetic beings. You'll feel it. You'll know it. But allow yourself, once you've done your due diligence, allow yourself the benefit of surrendering to a guru, because from what I've seen in my life, it never would have been possible without that. Our egos are too strong. In theory, we could do it. In theory, we could go to God, go to enlightenment without a guru. There's stories. A few of them, not many, but there are stories of mystics who, without a guru, spontaneously had experiences of awakening. But for most of us, our ego structure is so strong, and it's so good at deceiving us, and it's so good at telling us that we are right. You know, it's like our own internal chat GPT that's like, that is very smart. You are right. Absolutely. You know, that just keeps sort of telling us all the time, yes, 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 you are right. That without a guru to tell us, that's ignorance. That's ignorance. That's fear. That's ego. We start to believe our own games. And that's when we get really stuck. And so for me, what I've learned, and I'm now 30 years into it, and I feel like I am even more grateful for my guru today than 30 years ago. The games that my mind plays today are very different than they were 30 years ago. But the mind keeps playing games. Doesn't stop. At least mine hasn't stopped. And having that presence of the guru to continually remind you. You need it less frequently as the years go by. But having that presence to just keep showing you the light. That's what it is. It's showing you the light of you, reminding you, you're not this, you're that. Why are you getting stuck with this? You're that. Why are you stuck with this? You're that. And it just keeps, the Guru just keeps reminding us what we are not. Not the stories, not the dramas, not the narratives, not the fear, not the ego. But that light, that consciousness, that awareness, that divinity. So, yeah, I think from my side, as originally a skeptical scientist, having a guru and surrendering to that guru has been one of the very, very, very best decisions that I've ever made in my life. So I definitely think it's worth it. And, you know, whatever karmic lessons you're meant to learn in this lifetime, you're going to learn them. So it doesn't do you any good to basically say, no, I'm not going to do that because it could go wrong. Well, then you may just be preventing yourself from having whatever lessons you're meant to have, and then you just have them next life instead. So might as well dive in this life, get the lessons, get the awareness, get free from them. Yeah, beautiful.
Thank you.
Of course. Have a wonderful, wonderful evening, everyone. A beautiful morning and day to our family joining us from all over the world. And I look so forward to seeing you all tomorrow evening. By God's grace, I'm now here for some days without traveling, so we'll be joining for satsang each evening. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. And until then,